You are watching Sound Candy Talk live. At Sound Candy Talk, we help your event, trainings, shows, and so more to the world through internet broadcasting in UHD. We provide from one to several camera setups and integrate graphics to live in your live streams. For more information, contact us through +2547 18454585 or email at soundcandytalk@gmail.com. Reach on us today. Are you looking for video live streaming services? You want your church services to be on air? You do not know where to market your goods and services? At Sound Candy Talk, we deliver the best live stream services for your events, product and service launches, conferences, weddings, and lives. Reach on us today. Sound Candy Talk Live News.
Hey, trust me.
No.
Why are you shouting?
Kama kampuni imeanguka mtu wangu. We are getting knock off city.
You don't trust me.
No. Why? With the proverbs.
See, we even say hi first. People. Why are we shouting? Good morning. It's 6 minutes after 8 o'clock, and we've already even started before we even start. And we're getting into the third hour of Kenya's biggest conversation, and those sounds that you hear. Senator Sifuna.
Yes.
I've been taught properly how to address senators.
Yes.
The senator of the Republic of Kenya, elected by the people of Nairobi.
Yeah, I don't know about that. It's a lot of...
Come on, man.
It's a lot of semantics.
I think so too.
Cruise nicely with it.
No.
I think so too.
We go
Just
a long way.
we do.
So even if you call me a do, like I wouldn't. You know, these people who bother about how they are addressed.
There's an issue.
It's revealing an issue that they have personally. It doesn't really matter. Unaweza niita tu edu.
So maybe now wewe edu we move.
Tumetoka mbali.
But Senator, I agree with
I
you.
will not insist on titles.
I once told a pastor who insisted he must be called pastor. Told him, we have to call you pastor, but we call Jesus. Yeah.
Unamuita na jina yake.
Jesus. First name basis.
Jesus is a title.
Correct.
No, Jesus is a
The name itself is a title.
So you will not find me in those
spaces
where I'm insisting on being called Mheshimiwa, Senator Sifuna,
Honorable.
I needed to edu bana.
So Edu is here.
Yeah, hivyo tu song.
No stranger to the hot seat in the Situation Room, and there are hot issues that are happening around, and this is why we have these conversations always, to be able to bring these issues to the fore and to be able to discuss them in an open and transparent manner, either for two things to happen: to keep the conversation alive, or to actually get the movers and shakers in those positions to do something about those. And that's why we have those conversations. And that's why you're here this morning. Now, the man that you trust with your everything is here. His name is Mark Bichachi. CT is not here.
Who are those people that trust Mark Bichachi with everything? I mean, those are also the second group of people who should examine their lives. After those ones who insist on being called Senator from Bungoma.
Let me tell you.
Wait. If we start telling you, we will not go far. CT got proverbs from Mozambique.
Yes.
He's delivered now.
But can we trust Mark Bichachi to give us
as CT gave?
CT is a sage.
He has now.
Looks like a Gen Z who just manufacture his own thing.
The way that the people of Kenya have now delegated their power to members of parliament is the way CT has delegated his power of sage to Mark. So let him share the proverb.
Be left to Mark.
This is recorded.
If CT is not here, let's not do the proverb.
No, we'll do the proverb anyway. So let Mark share the proverb. Mark, just share the proverb.
The problem with Edu is he does not trust me with the instruments of the proverb I'm about to share.
Okay. Share the proverb. Share the proverb.
You must figure out which one you are in this proverb. Whether the knife falls on the melon or the melon falls on the knife, the melon suffers. I say that with great personal influence. And
you've tried your best to channel City, but I don't know. What does it even mean? He used to explain to us the proverb so that
he told me that I need to trust your amazing literary capacity.
From my perspective, I mean, the melon is always going to lose against the knife because knives are made of sterner stuff than melons. So whether it's the knife falling on the melon or the melon falling on the knife, the melon suffers.
Are you a knife or watermelon?
I don't know. I mean, it is for the people of Kenya who have known us all this time to characterize us. They come up with all sorts of monikers for all of us who are in public life. So ask them if I look like a melon or a knife.
Perhaps at the end of this conversation,
perhaps by the end of this conversation, we will know.
Absolutely.
So,
now, can you trust Bichachi?
Not necessarily. I will still insist on
again. Let's see what happens by the end of this conversation. So, I mean, getting into it, what are we talking about today? What has been in, public glare? And one of the things that we do when we look at Senate, for whom you are part of, and its role in oversight. Oversight is not just on operations, but largely with money spent at the county level and taking into consideration governors. Senate sits regularly and committees sit regularly. We see you with Senator Kajwang, we see you with Senator Okeom Tata, as well as Cherargei, looking into these matters often in terms of how counties spend their money. Recently, the road maintenance levy fund has come into question. The president coming out clearly and saying, you know what, members of parliament, leave this thing to me. Leave this thing and let governors actually handle it. Members of parliament are up in arms and they're saying, excuse me, leave this to us because we are the ones. Senate is coming in the middle of all of this and saying, you know what, guys, in terms of oversight, we actually need to remove this thing from members of parliament, and very clearly so. And we'll start off with one simple question. Why?
First of all, I always appreciate opportunities to speak to not just the people of Nairobi, but the general public. And we're meeting here today or having this conversation today at a very difficult time for Nairobi. We have had incidents of death following the flooding that has happened in Nairobi. As of yesterday, we were counting upwards of 6 people lost in various places in Nairobi. My teams have been in contact with the families to just extend support to them, because these are the most unnecessary deaths in Nairobi. Because we all know that the rains are going to come at some point, and the county government needs to do certain things to ensure that people are safe. I brought a petition to the Senate just last week before we went on recess on compensation and involvement of the communities that were living along the riparian areas that are very risky. Our people have no problem moving to safer zones. And it's not a decision people make deliberately to live in dangerous places. It is a decision that they are pushed into given their economic circumstances. Mark, you'll find that most of the times the cheapest accommodations you can find in Nairobi are the riskiest. And it is what pushes our people to these areas where they put their lives at risk. And they have told me that they have no problem moving. They just need to be involved, and the compensation that was promised, especially along the river corridors, has to be given. Number two, as a Catholic myself, we are in mourning. Yes. We lost one of the most progressive popes. I say
that is true.
That if you are an avowed sinner like myself, you know, there are people who are very pretentious.
There's God
Mark
the Father,
will,
God the Son, Holy Spirit, and
Mark will
them.
them. Mark will start telling us the way he's infallible.
Let it go. Let it go.
I am the road.
So we've lost one of the most progressive popes. So that if you are an avowed sinner like Sifuna, this was the pope for us. That found in his heart to accommodate those of us who have fallen short of the glory of God. And as a Catholic, I continue to extend my condolences to the entire Catholic fraternity. I've seen a letter from the Archbishop of Nairobi, the Bishop Anyolo. There's a service tomorrow for that. And even as a family at home, I lost my auntie Mefa yesterday. She's the first wife of my late uncle Lawrence Sifuna. So again, condolences to the family. And so yeah, but back to that question, if you look at the constitutional structure, the fourth schedule of the constitution has set out the roles of the two levels of government. When we come to say roads, there are only two roads or levels of roads stated in the constitution. We have national roads and we have county roads. It is that simple. So if you read the papers today in the Star, my deputy party leader, Abdul Swamad Nasir, the governor of Mombasa, has tried to explain this thing to those who appear like they don't know what is going on. Because it is not about sentiment. It is about constitutional purity. If the constitution has set out roads at two levels, there are county roads and there are national levels, national roads. So national trunk roads, everybody knows the road from Mombasa to Malaba is a national road. That should be handled by the national government. But all these other roads fall under county governments. My party leader, who's one of the architects of this constitution, has been very clear that there is no role for us in Parliament to involve ourselves in matters of road construction. That my role as a senator, and it extends to members of the National Assembly as well, is oversight, representation of the people, and legislation. You know, so it is not possible for me as Sifuna, if I am also constructing things here in Nairobi, I cannot oversight myself. And that is where the debate is. And when you see somebody like Professor Nyong'o come out and say that the president, even the president claiming that let me manage the roads, first of all, he has more than enough on his plate. And he's struggling with whatever it is that is on his plate. He has national roads to deal with. Let county governments manage the county roads. That's just what the constitution says. So we have a levy that we collect. Every time you buy a liter of fuel, there is a certain percentage that goes to road maintenance levy. And what the members of the National Assembly have done is that because they are upset that the RMLF money is being fought over with the governors, they have decided that they are going to blackmail the entire devolution ecosystem. They're going to blackmail us in the Senate. They're going to blackmail the governors to make sure that they get the RMLF. I was one of the senators.
Blackmail.
Yeah, I'll give you examples.
Okay.
During the debate on division of revenue, just the discussion about how much money goes to the county governments. So there was a stalemate. There was a stalemate between the figure that was proposed by the National Assembly and the Senate. Do you know the national government brought back the division of revenue, something that is unprecedented? After we have already passed it, they brought it back and said, oh, we are cutting back the allocation to counties to 380 billion from the 385 that we had given the previous year. And it is something that was unprecedented. In my reading and interpretation of the Constitution only envisages one division of revenue bill every financial year.
Yes.
So this financial year, we have had two. We passed one, then it was rejected and brought back to us, and they told us, oh, because of the Gen Z pricing, we had to abandon the finance bill. Now we are cutting back financing for the counties. So when we refused as a Senate, because if you look at the Article 96 of the Constitution, the Senate's entire existence is to protect devolved governments and devolution. So if you tell me that you're going to reduce the allocation to counties, naturally, I am sworn to defend the position of the county governments and the people. So during that stalemate, we go into what is called mediation. We have a committee from the members, a committee that is made of members of the National Assembly and the members of the Senate. I remember Ndindi Nyoro was the lead from the National Assembly. Yeah. And they come to the room and tell us, Sifuna, at that time, the governors have gone to court on this question of RMLF. And they tell us, no RMLF, no division of revenue. Can you imagine? That is how they take hostage the entire devolution. Because the counties are waiting for you to pass a division of revenue act so that they can receive money. They can know how much money is coming to them so that they can plan. Yes. Yeah. So they tell us, we are not going to pass this thing until you guys, in fact, they were so condescending, telling us, oh, Sifuna, you go and speak to your governors, tell them to withdraw that case on RMLF before we have any discussion on anything.
How much are we talking about here? Because let's put it in perspective.
Yeah, so in terms it's of about 60. It's about 60 billion in terms of road maintenance levy. And the members of parliament are insistent that they are the ones to control that kitty, so that they are the ones to run road maintenance in the country. And yesterday, one of them, wenyewe wanajisema, one of them who's loud-mouthed enough, he came out and said they inflate the cost of CDF projects and road projects so that they can make money and live lavishly. He's a member of the National Assembly saying these things.
Edu, as you want to be.
Yes.
I've listened to you keenly.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering whether I'm the one who reads the Constitution as it is.
Yeah.
Or maybe there's if-buts confusion in that Constitution.
Yeah.
Because the owner of budget, yes, is the National Assembly.
Yes.
But once that budget is released, inclusive of what is given to the counties and is allocated to the counties, how exactly does a member of parliament interface with county government to implement the roads fund?
In fact, they don't interface at all because once he's the one who is in charge of the roads, they don't even consult the county governments.
Yes.
They don't consult the county governments on the CDF projects that they want to do. It's like we are running two parallel governments that don't speak to each other.
And two parallel constitutions.
Yes. So for as long as this money for RMLF is assigned to the member of parliament for, I don't want to say a constituency because they'll start crying. He is the person who determines which contractor is going to get that road, to do that road, and then wanakutana nyuma ya tent vile mmoja wao mwenyewe ametuambia. And that should not be the case.
But so legislation interface with the execution. My problem is not understanding the corruption they want to do. My problem is understanding on which legal footing do they want to execute this.
No, they have. In fact, the argument we have made as ODM is that there is no legal footing. The courts have said as much because, as you know, the courts have already declared funds such as the CDF unconstitutional.
Yes.
There is now a bill that has been published to amend the constitution to entrench all these funds in the constitution. It's undergoing public participation. And our position and the position I take. Luckily for me, I take instructions from only one boss. I only have one boss, who is Raila Amolo. So all these other riffraffs shouting here and there, I don't really care what they have to say. I take instructions from one person. So Baba has been very clear that in fact, members of the National Assembly have no business engaging in road construction. He has come to the defense of devolution on this particular issue, and he has directed that members of the National Assembly from ODM must support devolution. And I was happy that at the burial in Siaya recently for his long-time bodyguard, the leader of minority in the National Assembly, who's an ODM member, the Honorable Junaid Mohammed, committed to making sure that members of ODM support the position that has been taken by the party. And in fact, the tiff that I was getting into with some of these characters from Kenya Kwanza is that we have not had the president defending devolution. In fact, he's an enemy of devolution when he stands up and says, leave it to me. Yeah, that is not what the constitution says. He has national roads to deal with. Nazime mshinda. So awache governors wafanye county roads as required by the constitution. Number two, the leader of majority in the National Assembly, Kimani Ichung'wah, has said nothing. Has said nothing at all in defense of devolution. In fact, he, all the time when he rises on the floor of the House, he wants to characterize the governors as the problem with devolution. But Mark, if you interact with these issues, I'm telling you, this country is in a problem. And I am convinced that if we don't sort out national leadership, it doesn't matter what these people are doing here at the county level. We will always struggle because the people at the helm, the top, if they don't believe in devolution, do you know, Mark, we say, okay, we have passed the Division of Revenue Bill. It says Nairobi County is going to get 20 billion Kenya shillings. So the county governor has to start preparing a budget based on what the Senate has passed, right? But that money never ever gets to the counties in time. We pass something called a disbursement schedule. A disbursement schedule is supposed to say every single month, county government of Nairobi will receive 1.2 billion Kenya shillings. The National Treasury never follows that disbursement schedule. So why do we pass these things? You know, then you see it and you rack up a lot of pending bills. It's impossible for counties to plan, to operate. You're not to operate. So if you don't get a person who actually believes in devolution in the national government at the top, then nothing is going to happen. And clearly, William Ruto is not the right person because he's saying he wants to take away county functions.
So, Sifuna, here we're talking about 60 billion shillings. And then there are these other bodies that are in charge of making sure that this is spent. So we have the Kera and Kura. So once this devolution, as stated by the constitution, we only have two roads, national and county. Where will Kera and Kura go?
So my party leader, again, has provided guidance because Mzee was the person who crafted these road agencies. At that particular point in time, we still had a unitary system. We didn't have the new constitution. Now, he has said boldly, and it is a position that we have taken as a party, and it's a position that I follow. So if you want to come after me, know that you are not coming after Sifuna, you're coming after Raila. Baba amesema ya kwamba in the current constitutional dispensation, we actually don't need Kura and Kera because all those roads, there are only two roads. Two classifications of roads, the national roads and the county roads. So Kera has no business existing. It has no business existing. Let those roads, because those roads are classified as county roads, be managed by the county government. Kenya Urban Roads Authority need not exist at the moment under the constitutional dispensation that we have. So that is the position. The problem is, Mark, is money.
Right, that's it. Okay, so let's jump off of that issue.
That's the problem.
Edwin, let's jump off of that issue and let's play in a different space just for a minute, as uncomfortable as it might be. Let us imagine that members of parliament have finished their work in legislation, they finished their work in representation, they finished that work. And now they want to focus on handling this fund, because essentially, what is the purpose of this fund? It is to build, maintain roads. That's what it is. That's what that road maintenance money does, right? What would it look like that members of parliament in 290 constituencies then would be handling this money? What would you imagine that they would be doing?
The number of portobellis in this country.
Let's imagine, what would they be doing?
First of all, it is impossible to conclude or finish the work of representing.
Exactly.
Yes. Because
Exactly.
you see, representation is a daily thing. You represent people in all the platforms that you get, including here, including in parliament and in all the spaces that you occupy. So I don't countenance, or I don't imagine a situation where you would be done with legislative business and representation business. But the truth is, we exist. For instance, we senators, we don't have any funds to build anything.
Yes.
We don't have, but we do exist. We have a job to do, and we do it well. As a person elected to represent, to legislate, and to oversight, if you look at the scorecard in the past 2.5 years, the Senate has done extremely well. Just last week, we were passing a law to give financial independence to county assemblies. Do you know, that because of that simple amendment to the public finance management law, you allow greater oversight in the counties? Because imagine the assembly and its functions and its running depending on the whims of the governor. There is a famous form they used to call Form C, that if the CEC for finance is not available to sign that form, there is no drinking water in the county assembly. How are you supposed to oversight people? And when I went to there was a meeting of the county assembly forum where I was invited to speak. I gave them an assurance that as a Senate, we are agreed we're going to give financial independence to county assemblies so that they can enhance their oversight capacity. We have passed, just the other day, there's a bill that I sponsored on transparency in the electricity billing system, transparency in the energy sector, just basic things like disclosure of beneficial owners of these independent power producers and so on and so forth. I have now started my second amendment, the second legislative proposal that I've made, to make sure that county governments set aside some money, 1% of whatever money they receive on their county revenue fund, to support registered sporting associations, so that every time the Nairobi County Boxing Association has a tournament, in Vihiga or Mombasa, they don't walk around with a begging ball in our offices saying they want 100,000 shillings to travel. The county government of Nairobi, if you look at their budget, there is no single line allocation of money for sporting associations. How are you supposed to nurture talent? So there is a lot of work to do. There's a lot of work to do. I personally have taken the position that it's not that we lack laws. We have laws, sufficient laws, but it's just the bad manners in this country that every time we have to tie the hands behind the back of the people with executive power, even more and more. So every time we try to tighten. In terms of representation, my brother, there's a lot of issues. If you come to my office, I have an entire box, like something like that DJ stand, for petitions from people. All sorts of issues. People have issues in promotions of police officers, promotion of teachers. You have seen members of the National Assembly handing out TSC letters. Have you ever seen Sifuna do those things? I mean, it's just ridiculous.
It is.
So if we focused on our mandate as members of parliament, people elected in the Senate and the National Assembly, there's actually enough work to do. You don't have to be running around.
So you actually have no business then trying to manage a road maintenance levy fund.
And that is the position of Baba, the position of the party.
Okay. I want us to take my position is that I want us to take a break.
Okay. So let's stand on that position. We come back with my burning question. I'll lead and task it soon.
Okay. No. For the purposes of this discussion, we will not just call you Edu, but you are the Senator for Nairobi County, as well as the ODM Secretary General. It's necessary to have that. And we're taking a break at 28 minutes to 9 o'clock. Edwin Sifuna is here with us, and we're looking at certain issues as to, okay, so you have a lot of work to do. What are we dealing with some funds here? And where does the interest actually lie? It continues when we come back from this quick break. Don't go away.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
The fun never stops on Star Times. This Easter and April school holidays. Get ready for non-stop adventure, laughter, and learning for big and little kids. Renew your subscription for 2 months.
Are you looking for video live streaming services? You want your church services to be on air? You do not know where to market your goods and services? At Sound Candid Talk, we deliver the best live stream services for your events, product and service launches, conferences, weddings, and lives. Reach on us today.
The Honorable Minister Musalia Mudavadi and myself have been talking about Luhya unity politically for a long time now. And I think that we have come close enough for me to be able to say that in the next general elections, the Luhya vote will go in one basket. And I'm quite sure that neither myself nor the Honorable Minister will tell you what that basket will be today. But this is a must. This must come to pass. Otherwise, our numerical superiority as the second largest community in this country will count for nothing if we remain scattered and divided between all.
You are watching Sound Candid Talk live.
You know, you said something that stuck in my head.
Yeah.
You said that the person at the top, if he doesn't change, then we cannot implement devolution, etc., etc. But I keep thinking, there's something called the National Assembly.
Yeah.
Legislation, I will not judge them because everyone knows how that is going.
Yeah.
But it was imagined that the National Assembly was given enough power to oversight the executive. What will it take to remove the National Assembly from worshipping money, in this case 60 billion, to actually realizing that if they actually follow the constitution and implement it, the roads that they are built, they'll drive onto?
Yeah, so it is a very serious dilemma. Like, even I, as a member of parliament, sometimes just wonder why my colleagues cannot see how powerful the institution of parliament would become if we just stayed true to the oath of office that we took. But the truth of the matter is that this constitution, there are people who have challenges with it, that they didn't believe in independent institutions. So they have tried their most to make sure that you cripple or compromise these institutions so much that they can't function in the way that they were designed to function. It started with the first team to implement this constitution in 2013. And I remember members of the National Assembly who were elected on the then Jubilee Party. And you remember the story of the tyranny of numbers.
Yes.
And people imagining that you are in parliament to defend the political party on which you were elected. That is not what the framers of this constitution envisaged.
True.
They envisaged that parliament as an institution would oversight both the county and national governments. But then you get to 2013, and first of all, we end up with a leadership that did not believe in this constitution. It is on record that people like William Ruto were against this constitution. And therefore, if it is something that he didn't believe in from the start, there is no way you expect him to actively make sure that it works. In fact, they try to find ways in which to make sure that this constitution does not work. So members of the National Assembly have neutered all the oversight mechanisms that were woven into our constitution. You remember the incident where Anwar Guru was supposed to be impeached as a cabinet secretary following the NYS scandal. Then this mythical Inturi, who's now making noise here, disappeared somewhere in a hotel in Russia.
Just
this guy disappeared. And made sure that
she took on lighter duties.
And she took on lighter duties, and the rest, as they say, is history. Yeah, so that is part of the problem. And we have come from that situation to a place whereby members of the National Assembly who are elected on the president's party feel that their job there is to protect their presidency, so-called presidency. And you see, history has proven more times that mambo inabadilikanga in a second. So we have members of the Senate, for instance, who were very rabid supporters of this government, and they were from Murima. Right now in the Senate, they are the ones crying. The ones crying, looking at Sifuna, help us, please. Because when you are sworn in the Senate there, please, can you just be faithful to your oath of office and the work that people sent you to do? As an institution, as a Senate, we can take a position that is contrary to a position that has been taken by the national government. Even the leader of majority, the Honorable Aaron Cheruiyot, we tell him every day, if the president is wrong, you have a responsibility as a senator to say he's wrong. On this issue of RMLF, the president is wrong. Say it. Why can't you say it? You can tell him, this is my responsibility as a member of parliament, to be able to say you are overreaching as a central government, as a national government. That is the roads in Kericho County are the responsibility of the county government of Kericho. You cannot come to do rural roads. So that is a problem we have.
Sifuna.
Yes.
Let's talk about road maintenance levy fund and the way it is being touted on how it will be implemented. Because there's a talk on following the same structure on CDF, where we'll have committees that will oversee all this and whatnot. And one begs the question, this 5% even on CDF, if it is not there and you give the governors the opportunity and the right to implement these, that money would be used exclusively to implement. And it is being seen as though members of National Assembly are looking at RMLF as another ticket item for their campaigns in 2027, instead of looking at how this money will go to benefit the Mwananchi. When will we just sit and say the law is clear? National county roads. That's
what we are doing right now. That I gave you the example of the position that has been taken by both the governor of Kisumu, who's like the ideological repository of the party, and the governor of Mombasa in today's dailies is here. Is saying that the law is very clear. It's in black and white. It is not a matter for sentiment or interpretation. There are only two levels of roads. Let county governments manage county roads. Let the national government manage national roads. The crux of the matter, the reason why there is all this fight is money. Is the control of who is the contractor who's coming to do this, and how will they talk to me nicely, and so on and so forth. A member of the National Assembly has said it himself. He has told you that they inflate the contract amount so that they make money.
Why are these funds being seen as ticket items to go back to the Mwananchi?
Because you see, the problem with our Kenyan politics is also that the society has been socialized to expect things from people who are elected. That is the problem. That if you step out of your house without cash, you will run into embarrassment. And it has been very difficult. But I think it is our responsibility, especially as a younger generation of leaders, to educate the public that, in fact, me passing legislation that helps your life, like the amendments we made on persons with disability to support families who are living with disabled children, especially, and that suggestion actually came from a member of the public on Twitter. She's called me Shere. She just called me and said, we parents of special needs children are suffering. Why can't you reduce tax on such and such and things? That if I pass such a legislation, I have helped you more than if I just give you 100 bob today to eat.
But is it really the people of Kenya or is it who is attracted to Kenyan politics? I find that it is easier to be a thug politician than to be a thinking, caring politician in this country. We've made it so toxic that the people who have a good heart and really care for the country really find it hard to enter politics at any level.
Mark, I have tried so hard to dissuade people from that thinking and to advise them that, in fact, the political class tries its best to dissuade people from joining.
Exactly.
People from joining.
Right.
And it is a trap you should not fall into. They try to make it seem like politics is a very dirty game, that it is an expensive game, that people who have pure intentions not to make any money but to just serve the public should stay away. Please don't fall into that trap, because I am a living testament that it is possible for you to enter politics without nothing. You know, they run around and tell you, oh, you need
35 million to be a senator.
35 million.
That's the number. 35 million.
It's not true. When I ran in 2017, I didn't spend more than 3 million Kenyan shillings to run for Senate in Nairobi. I still ended up with 700,000 votes. I won 2022 spending less than 5 million Kenyan shillings in Nairobi. And that 5 million shillings is not at giving money to people. It is logistics, it is advertising, it is paying.
But you finally explained why you speak with such courage.
But that's what I'm telling you.
Because you are not in it.
Please, as SG of ODM, I am more than ready to be able to hold the hands of people who believe that this thing can be done without necessarily compromising your values or yourself. I am there. That's why I encourage young people to join political parties that are established, because also political parties give you a certain cover. It is very difficult. As an independent candidate, my brother, trying to run for office, so you need signatures from how many thousand people, they have to photocopy their IDs and give you. Join political parties, and we are not forcing you. We are just saying that it gives you a certain
cover,
for you to be able to participate effectively in politics. But let nobody scare you. Let nobody scare you. We have seen people win elections without any money. But it depends on when you get there. What do you do in terms of changing the lives of the people? And I wish that we get to a point where there is critical mass in terms of the top leadership of the country of people who are just there to be able to serve the people and to demonstrate to other Kenyans that it is possible for you to join this club without necessarily, engaging in some of the things we see people. And the measure is very simple, Mark. If you see somebody who never, ever says anything on the floor of parliament, but he's the one giving you free borders and free. What are they? They're always dishing out during Easter. You see somebody ugali amekuletea nini. Then you ask that person, but when have you ever represented me? When have you ever proposed a legislation to change my life? They don't do it. Anakuambia mimi ni engineer.
So then it gives you the position where you can ask certain questions and not be afraid to demand answers when it comes to certain things. Let's look at Nairobi, a county for which you oversight.
Absolutely.
And unfortunately, there is a little bit too much that is going left. Right? And so the questions are coming forth. There are people who are asking questions about their pending bills. There are people who are asking questions about their roads. This same road that we're now saying should go through the control of governors. There are people who are asking questions about, monies they paid for certain things to be done. There are many questions about things that have not happened in the last 2.5 years. That would come right to your desk, Senator.
So I agree with you, Ndu. First of all, as a leader in Nairobi, I am amenable to questions being asked about my responsibility. And I want to, unfortunately, Mark, my car also flooded. So I usually have a constitution in the car, but it was removed when they were cleaning it. When the car flooded. I wish we had the constitution here so that we can read everybody's responsibilities. So as a senator, my job, my primary responsibility is to make sure that I obtained as much resources as possible for my county governor to be able to do the work that he's supposed to do. Fine. So I have fought, like in the example that I gave you about the feud that was between the National Assembly and the Senate on division of revenue. I made sure that we did not lose any money or we did not receive less money than the 385 that was given to counties. So I on paper, I have been able to do my job to deliver 20 billion Kenya shillings in terms of shareable revenue to the county government of Nairobi.
Yes.
Now, you have an executive governor that you also elected.
Yes.
His job is to make sure that those resources are applied correctly.
Yes.
I sit in the County Public Accounts Committee to oversight all the counties, including Nairobi County. The governor of Nairobi has been before the Senate more times than I can count, including a few weeks ago when he was before the Energy Committee to answer to this feud between
KPLC,
Kenya Power and themselves.
Yes.
And as a senator, I stand on the side of devolution in certain ways to make sure that he doesn't have an excuse why he's not performing.
Yes.
So we discussed about this provision of the law that says for a county government to levy basically taxation on Kenya Power for way leaves, they need the permission of a secretary. The cabinet secretary responsible for energy.
Yes.
And we have taken a position as a committee that there is no way you can place a function in the county governments, then make it subject to approval of a national government official.
Yes.
You know, so we are supporting him on that. We're saying Kenya Power used to supply power only through their power lines, but nowadays they are denying counties revenue by using that infrastructure to supply data as well.
Yes.
The companies like Safaricom and the others are using that infrastructure and paying directly to Kenya Power, money that used to go to county governments.
Yes.
So they are reducing their own source revenue. Now, if the governor, after I have defended devolution, after I have stood behind him, after I've gotten the money for him, if he doesn't do his job, Sifuna cannot beat him physically. What am I expected to do? Am I supposed to punch him in the face? You know, that is the question that I ask, because in the accountability ecosystem, there are limits. So the Auditor General will produce reports. The reports will come to us. And we will say, okay, here we can see there's a problem. We have recommended prosecution for 150 cases as a member of the Public Accounts Committee. Prosecution of professionals in county governments, including Nairobi.
Yes.
That recommendation goes to an institution called EACC. It is not up to Sifuna. I cannot arrest people. You know, I wish I had that power.
I believe in a committee session, you actually said the words that I believe you were addressing the governor directly, and you said we can fine you 500,000 shillings, but for you that's a paltry sum.
It's peanuts. And what did we do? What did we do? Because we realized that 500k is peanuts for these people. There was an amendment we brought to the Parliamentary Powers and Privileges Act to push that figure to 2 million Kenya shillings for failure to attend or to honor summons of committees of the Senate.
So now
we even made a proposal. In fact, we passed that proposal to give Senate and the Parliament of Kenya powers of arrest, because there was a time when my governor refuses to show up to Nini, and then you depend on the Inspector General of Police to arrest him. And you can see the guy is gallivanting. He's arriving at JKIA. You're like, bro, we needed to have a conversation, but you depend on the IG of police to effect those things. We passed an amendment as a Senate to give Senate. We even wanted our own jail because you see, Kenyans are frustrated. They say, Sifuna, things are going so wrong. All you do is talk about it. I'm saying that is as far as my powers go. My job is to highlight these issues, to bring them out, to represent the people, to tell the governor here and here you are wrong. So, for instance, the discussion we had at the Energy Committee, and we were telling the governor that, when you have a conversation with Kenya Power, you cannot leave it in your head, because you will not be the governor forever. There will be another person to come. Can you reduce the things that you have agreed upon into writing, so that the next person who comes to deal with that issue can say, we had advanced this discussion between Kenya Power and the Nairobi County government to a certain point. There was no written agreement on what was discussed between the Nairobi County government and Kenya Power.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Devolution is a bit misty for many Kenyans. In your opinion, what score would you give in general of all the governors? Would you give them in terms of their performance?
In all honesty, there have been very bold attempts to cripple county governments. As a senator, I can see it. I'm telling you, my brother, it is impossible for you to plan in an environment where you don't know how much money you're going to receive and you don't know when you're going to receive it. It is difficult to plan, you know. So, and this is this is the reason why I say that if we don't sort out national leadership, how I wish in 2013, when we were implementing this constitution, we got a leadership that actually knew why we created this structure and believed in it, you know. So systematically, we have seen the national government making it seem like it's a favor to send money to county governments. We have a pending bill in Nairobi, my brother, of 100 billion Kenya shillings. People who have not been paid, and they have worked. It is ridiculous since Dero's time, you know. So how are you supposed to deliver services? So if, for instance, some of those pending bills are for garbage collectors, I have seen people come to my office. They had been awarded a tender to do garbage collection. You go to this heavy machinery people who sell heavy machinery here. You got 2 tippers, you got a backhoe, they calls you what loaders. My brother, you have taken those things on loan. You do the job. You wait 3 years for payment. The bank comes after you. The machines are repossessed. You are still sitting there waiting for the county government of Nairobi to pay you. We are saying there kuna zingine ni za ukora, but there are genuine businesses who did the job but have never been paid. And it is because it is very unpredictable for you sitting there as a county governor to know how much money you're going to receive. Now, that is not to say that there is no malpractice. Because I have said, and I've said this on the floor of the house, even as a lawyer, that there are certain things that are just openly criminal. You have a lawyer telling us that they are supposed to be paid 1.3 billion Kenya shillings for representing the county in a feud between a county government and the Ministry of Defense over a piece of land. And that dispute was actually resolved by consent. Like there was no dispute. But so anachukua tu the total value of the land. So if the land is 300 acres, you multiply by the price and you say, okay, the total amount in contention is 30 billion. Now I'm going to levy 1% of that. It's ridiculous.
And that's
ridiculous. So we have said as a Senate that we recognize that there are certain things that are happening in the counties that are just open pilferage. There are bad practices like governors coming and refusing to complete projects. We passed a motion to say that we do not want county governments to embark on new projects when they have not completed the old projects. You go to Woodley, the social hall there that was started by Kidero, it's just rotting there. I mean, it is a waste of public money. So when we highlight these issues, it is so that we can be able to find a way out. We are not defending bad manners in the counties. We know there is bad manners. There is this open fraud and siphoning of resources.
Absolutely.
So, Senator, one would want to ask, as you do your job in making sure that the governor gets the resources that he needs, there is also the need for you to work with the county assemblies to oversight the governor and making sure that things are being done right. Is that the case, and how sufficient is that work with the county assembly? Because then again, the county assemblies are felt as though they're also in the pocket.
Now the MCAs, there are certain counties where the MCAs understand their jobs. You know, in some of these counties, MCAs don't want to do their job. They want to hide behind the senator. You see an MCA crying at, Sifuna is not saying anything about Sakanya. I'm like, my friend, you know, that is why people like the late Munuve are being celebrated, because he understood his job. If you look at the constitutional architecture, is that county assemblies exercise primary oversight. As a Senate, we do what we call secondary oversight. I cannot impeach a governor unless you bring him to me. I mean, you have an MCA who is very good at writing tweets, but cannot draft an impeachment motion. You cannot draft an impeachment motion. You are telling me, and you know, I have very high regard for all MCAs, but I tend to think that the MCAs in Nairobi should be somehow better. Because if you see somebody like Chege Mwaura is the secretary, is the MCA for Ngara, and is the secretary for the County Assemblies Forum. If you hear Chege Mwaura speaking, and he presents himself like somebody who's even his member of parliament level, even higher. I do not expect, I don't want to mention the MCAs from other counties, but I'm saying that the MCAs in Nairobi, because we are a capital, we need to be held to a higher standard. Now, if MCAs from Meru, if MCAs from Meru can draft impeachment motions like every 3 months, and then you are telling me you are the MCA of a highly educated populace. You come from the poshest,
high net worth.
Correct, high net worth area.
Then there's
all you do is to draft tweets saying, "Oh, the senator, you will not hear Sifuna saying anything. Bring him to me. Bring him to me.
What I will do.
Draft a motion for heaven's sake. Even try to convince your colleagues to sign up. Show us even a draft
something,
motion,
and then we can help you do the
rest. You can't
rest.
just be crying there. Oh, Sifuna. I'm telling you, as a Senate, I tried to simplify it for them, give them football analogies. You see, in a football team, there is a defense, there's a midfield, there's a striker. Yeah. Now, me, I am here. I'm like Kevin De Bruyne.
Okay.
No. I'm like, what is his name? Haaland. Now, Haaland has to wait here for Kevin De Bruyne to pass the ball. Yes. And then I do my job. But if you are sitting there,
De Bruyne is just
passing amongst yourselves. Why is Haaland not scoring the goal and I've not given him the ball? Let's ask you a political question. You talked about the infrastructure of political parties, extremely important in my view, as per what political parties are actually supposed to do. Grassroots elections for ODM, we would be remiss if we did not ask you that question. They've not happened for a minute. The question is, are they actually going to happen? It is from there you glean these individuals that you're talking about that could essentially move forward.
Absolutely.
What's happening?
Now, I don't know what you mean by they have not happened in a minute because you work in news. For heaven's sake, you also need to be factual in the things that
happened. Okay, maybe
we are in the middle of elections.
Okay,
in November we started our grassroots election. And these days I have to keep checking the calendar. Today is the 24th of April.
It is.
By the grace of God, I'm still the SG of ODM. It appears like that founders meeting has not happened yet. Whenever it happens, I will be disciplined.
Perhaps those are the things we are talking about.
Yeah, so
have not happened
now let me speak as SG because mkutano ya founders bado haijafanyika.
You're too funny.
Some things have not happened.
Yeah, mkutano wa founders bado wanatafutana. So we started elections in November at the polling station. So ODM structure is that at every polling station, you have to have representation. I am a registered voter in Westlands, in Kitisuru Ward. So I go to Loresho Primary School where I vote. And I ask the members there to vote me as a member of the committee. Because for you to be elected at the national level, you need to be a member of your own polling station's committee.
Right.
So I went there in November. There was no fight, there was no fuss. And we have been encouraged by the party leadership that when you go into this contest, they are friendly contests. It's friendly fire. Hata ukipiga mtu upigi kuua. Kwa Kiluya wanasema ukupe keleo ukupe murwena. Yani unapiga mguu, not the head. Yeah, so I mean, we finished that in November. There were appeals from certain areas where people were not very satisfied with what happened. We sorted out those appeals. There are elections that were nullified in places such as Embakasi West. In certain areas and even in Taita Taveta, we stopped the election process. So then this month, I think it was earlier this month, we had the elections for now, the ward and the constituency level. And right now we're in the midst of dealing with appeals from those processes. Now, as SG, first of all, I don't involve myself in elections because Baba said all of us now ni raia. I mean, during elections, you cannot be calling yourself so-and-so chairman. Na bado elections inaendelea.
Indeed.
So we all have to subject ourselves to that process. We are not perfect in doing it. In fact, the problem that I have is that this government has systematically ensured that political parties are unable to conduct their business. Yeah, because you need money to be able to do these things. The estimate for conducting like elections by secret ballot for ODM across the country is over 1 billion shillings.
True.
These guys, if you look at the amount of money that was allocated for us, it was 300 million shillings this year, and it was cut down twice,
And so that's what would scuttle the process, essentially.
That scuttles the process. And they are not believers in institutions of democracy such as political parties. So that is why they try to cripple us. But we say that we must proceed
and remain strong. All right, strong. Senator for Nairobi, Edwin Sifuna, we shot it off by 3 minutes, but thank you so much for being here. We started off by saying it's important to have these conversations, and that's why we do. Thank you so much for being here. We look forward to the next time.
Anytime. I made a commitment here that because ODM is a publicly funded institution. I must appear here to defend myself against with taxpayers like Mark, whatever questions they have. I am also a publicly elected official. Okay. My salary is paid by your taxes.
Yes.
So if you need me to answer questions, we will not run away from you.
Asante,
we will always be here.
A good way to end it.
Asante.
Thank you so much. Good morning. It's 9:03.
At Sound Candid Talk, we help your event, trainings, shows, and so more to the world through internet broadcasting in UHD. We provide from 1 to several camera setups and integrate graphics to live in your live streams. For more information, contact us through +2547 18454585 or email at soundcandidtalk@gmail.com. Reach on us today. You are watching Sound Candid Talk live. Sound Candid Talk live news. Are you looking for video live streaming services? You want your church services to be on air? You do not know where to market your goods and services? At Sound Candid Talk, we deliver the best live stream services for your events, product and service launches, conferences, weddings, and lives. Reach on us today. Sound Candid Talk live news. Watu wa Mungu, Bwana Yesu asifiwe. Kipindi cha mahubiri kimerudi tena kwa kishindo kwenye Sound Candid Talk. Tunakufundisha, kukuelimisha na kukutia moyo kwenye Daily Bite. Mafundisho kamili ya Biblia kila siku kwenye runinga uipenda ya Sound Candid Talk.
One thing must be made clear, that to build a political movement of the stature and nature of ODM is no mean task. And therefore, ODM shall remain and ODM shall be on the ballot in 2027. That is a plan, that is a strategic plan of the party. Political parties are formed so that people can compete on the basis of policies and ideologies, and the person with the best ideology carries the day and implements them for the betterment of the people. Right now, we are conscious that elections are still 2 years away, and the challenges that this country faces requires us all to work together. It requires us all to be on the table. And this is the reason why we got into the broad-based government, because we realized that if Kenya Kwanza was allowed to continue running the country unilaterally as they did, then the politics of exclusion that has been a problem in this country was going to be perpetuated, and that there would be certain parts of this country that would be starved of development. And that is why our party leader agreed to partner with William Ruto to stabilize the
You are watching Sound Candy Talk live.